Hello and welcome to Let's Challenge. This week I'm climbing the clock tower as I near the end of the Leather Whip Challenge. The Leather Whip Challenge being that I try to beat Super Castlevania 4 with only the Leather Whip and no sub-weapons. Although I am allowing myself to use meat to replenish my health and grab the rosary, which is the item that will kill all enemies on screen. So I have been allowing myself to use those two things, but basically everything else is disallowed for this challenge. Anyways, this week we also get to find out if there's a bat in this stage or not, and as far as I can tell, because I've played this a little bit already, there are no bats, but there are a lot of swing spots, like this one, that have some bats on them. So there aren't really any bat enemies, but they still got some kind of bat imagery in with the swing spots. And, well, if you're wondering why I'm so interested in bats, I just said, early on I said I think there's a bat in every stage but this one, and I was interested in that because I think the developers decided to throw a lot of bats in the game as a way to remind us that Simon Belmont is supposed to be a vampire hunter, but they couldn't, put in a lot of vampires because vampires are really powerful and supposed to be a special enemy. And actually, I guess Dracula is the only one you actually fight in this game. But since he's the only one, they still needed something to kind of remind you that you're a vampire hunter, and that just, I thought, would be why they throw so many bats in the game. Is just a way to remind you that you're a vampire hunter. And anyways, since I've realized that there aren't any bats in this stage, I started wondering, why did they not put bats here? And my first thought is that they didn't want bats and medusa heads. Like you might have seen already that there's a lot of medusa heads flying around in this stage. So since they're similar enemies, they decided to go with medusa heads instead of bats. So that got me wondering, why medusa heads instead of bats? And I had a couple of thoughts on that too. The first one is that medusa heads, as you can see, are kind of allowed to fly from off-screen into onto screen, and bats aren't really allowed to do that, if ever. So that's why I guess they needed that in this stage. They needed medusa heads since they could fly off the screen, because as you can see, it's kind of a very narrow stage and very vertical, so it was better to use medusa heads, I guess. So that's really the first reason. Also, bats aren't really allowed to fly from behind you. They're always placed in such a way that they're more likely to fly just directly towards the player. I mean, you can't sneak around a bat and then it would attack you from behind, but typically bats don't really attack you from behind, whereas here, medusa heads can, fly from the left or the right, so they can attack in either direction. So that'd be another reason why medusa heads instead of bats. I guess maybe the final reason is that they have an interesting wave pattern to them, so it's some interesting gameplay. And okay, that wasn't really the final reason. I forgot one more. We're coming up to the boss here, and you'll see that the boss actually has a kind of attack pattern that's similar to how the medusa heads fly. So I think that's probably the last reason. Okay, I'm actually looking for some meat here. I think there might be some, I just don't remember where it is. But yeah, the medusa heads basically look similar to the boss's attack. So I think there was maybe some theming there with the boss being similar to the medusa heads. And also the medusa heads, they, well, this boss is a mummy, as you can see, and he likes to throw his wrappings at you. So I think they kind of look like the medusa's kind of, the hair. Also right here you can see my secret shin attack. That's actually the best case scenario for this boss, is for him to spawn on the right over there, and then you can just kneel in front of him and wail on him, and he can't hit you. The main thing with this boss is noticing where he's spawning and then kind of having some strategy for each spawn point. Anyways, that's actually the worst one, so I'm just going to try to hide out here and talk a little about my medusa heads again. Okay, so I guess the only other thing I had to say was they look similar to the boss's wrappings here, like the hair on the medusa heads. So I guess, and they fly the same way, you see his wrappings going there. So that would be the last reason why. I think they chose medusa heads instead of bats. Also, one more thing I should add is, this is the first time through the game, and once you beat the game once, and if you play it again, it actually goes to hard mode. And I think in hard mode there actually is a bat in this stage, so So I keep saying there aren't bats in the stage, but if you play it on the higher difficulty, there might be. And now we can just wail on his shins some more. Hopefully he'll just keep spawning over here on the right and throw wrappings at me, because when he does that, we can just kneel in front of him, and that's the best way to attack him, I think. And when he throws fireballs over there, can't really reach him at all right now. Or at least it's not safe. I like to play careful on the bosses, since the bosses are the toughest part of this challenge. Okay, this is a pretty good scenario though. As long as he's using fireballs instead of the wrappings, I can get a lot more hits in and not take too much damage. Okay, and the middle might be the worst one. I mean, I still like to... You can still bring him over to this left hand of the clock though, so it ends up being about the same. So this is going pretty well actually. I just wish you would spawn on the right side some more, it would be over a little faster. Yeah, I think I can just get some little nicks on him here in the corner. There we go, now he's down. So that's it for stage A, they call it, which is the 10th stage. Next week will be the finale for Halloween. I'll go through stage B and go through the Dracula's cohorts, like 3 enemies there you gotta fight, and then Dracula himself for the finale for this Leather Whip challenge. So as always, thank you for watching. Bye!